Did you know that most of the drinks you order at Starbucks don't actually have much coffee in them at all? A single cup at Starbucks can cost you nearly $7. But is what's inside really worth that price? Or is it just a performance dressed up with ice foam and a touch of illusion? Many people walk out of Starbucks in the morning thinking they're more awake. But there's something inside those cups that most never really notice. It's not the aroma. It's not the quality. It's a formula designed to pull you back to that counter again and again. What you're really paying for might not be the coffee, and you might want to think twice before ordering another cup. Number 17, $1 coffee. You're losing money. Starbucks has never been richer. And do you know what the biggest irony is? That very cup of coffee you hold every morning is helping them open new headquarters, pay dividends to shareholders, and funnel money into things that have nothing to do with the quality of your drink. A grande latte at Starbucks now runs about $6.95. In some places like California and New York, it's already past the $7 mark if you choose a nut milk version. And have you ever wondered where that price really comes from? If you think it's from premium coffee beans, a secret recipe, or rare ingredients, you might want to think again. Because the truth is, most of what you pay for never makes it into the cup. Let's break it down. A single shot of espresso, the only real coffee part of your latte, accounts for just about 8 to 15% of the cost. The rest is milk, which takes up around 50 to 60% of the volume, plus syrup toppings, a paper cup, a plastic lid, and operating costs. The actual value of ingredients, on average about $1.10. So what are you really paying for? The brand. The feeling that you belong to something expensive. That familiar green logo in your hand that makes you look like someone important. In other words, you're drinking marketing, not coffee. And if you're still thinking, well, Starbucks is a coffee shop, of course they can charge higher prices, then ask yourself this: are they being honest about the value you're getting? Have you ever looked at your latte and thought, why is it so watery? Why is there only one shot of espresso? Why do I feel sleepy instead of awake after finishing it? Because in many recipes, coffee is just the supporting role. What fills the cup is sugar ice flavoring milk foam and a whole lot of tricks to make it taste good without relying on real coffee beans. You think you're sipping something fancy, something premium, but maybe you're just drinking a dressed-up milkshake that's been renamed to sell at 5 times the price. And this isn't only about money. It's about a bait and switch that's been happening for years. A Starbucks cup used to stand for an experience, for care and quality. Today, it's turning into a business model built on psychology, make you feel classy, keep you coming back, and stop you from asking questions. So the real question is, are you paying just to wear the label of an elite consumer? And inside that label, how much is actual coffee and how much is illusion? This isn't just you. Plenty of people are waking up to this truth. Someone said I used to buy Starbucks every morning. Now I brew at home and save nearly $100 a month. Another shared I bought a simple coffee machine and whole beans. The taste is better. And at least I know what's in my cup. So why are you still spending every day without really knowing where your money goes? Maybe because it feels familiar, maybe because it feels safe. Starbucks knows exactly how people work. They don't just sell coffee, they sell the comfort of routine repeated every morning. But that comfort might not be real anymore. When quality doesn't improve, ingredients don't get better, and yet prices keep climbing, the only one losing out is you. And if you're still holding on to that morning Starbucks ritual as if it can't be broken, try stopping for just a week. Remember, grinding your own beans at home is a far more reliable choice. Number 2, fruit. What fruit? A pretty pink-red color. A cool, refreshing name. Strawberry Acai Refresher. A few slices of strawberry floating around some ice, a couple of seeds drifting inside. It feels like you're sipping a pure, sugar-free fruit drink that's good for your health. But what if I told you that cup doesn't actually contain any real strawberry juice? The truth is, the refresher advertised as energy from nature and fruit-filled doesn't contain real fruit the way you think. No strawberries, no passion fruit, no mango or blood orange, just water flavoring and food coloring. Sound familiar? That's the same formula you thought you left behind when you stopped buying bottled drinks at the grocery store. Only this time it comes in a Starbucks cup. And that feeling you're drinking something healthy, light, and full of nutrients. Turns out it's just a disguise made of flavor chemicals.
Starbucks is facing legal backlash over some of its more summery drinks. The coffee giant under scrutiny for its refreshers, as some claim they were falsely advertised. Consumers say that the coffee chain failed to include key ingredients like dragon fruit or strawberries, as shown on the menu.
In early 2025, a lawsuit in the United States made headlines. Consumers sued Starbucks claiming the refresher was fruit-flavored but fruit-free. The ads promised fruit. But in reality, there was no real fruit juice, no genuine extracts, no vitamins like you'd expect. What's even more shocking is that plenty of people drank refreshers daily, believing it was a healthier alternative to soda. Some were diabetic or had high blood pressure and had given up Pepsi in favor of refreshers. They thought it was less sweet, real fruit, definitely better. So why not be upfront from the start? Why trick people with colors and a name that sounds wholesome? Have you ever checked the ingredient list for a refresher on Starbucks' official site? If you have, you probably noticed there's no mention of strawberry juice, blood, orange juice, or passion fruit juice. Instead, you see flavored base natural flavors, citric acid, and a long list of terms that sound more like a prescription than a fruity drink. At this point, you might be thinking, so what, it's just a bit of flavoring, but the issue isn't the amount. It's the way they made you believe it came straight from nature. In today's food industry, natural flavor is one of the most misleading phrases. Not because it's toxic, but because it lowers your guard. Consumers see the word natural and think, oh, it's safe. But in reality, it's a chemical mix that may have started from something natural but has been heavily processed along the way. Which means not dangerous, but definitely not natural anymore. Ever noticed your refresher tastes a bit like fruit-scented air freshener? Or that it smells amazing, but not quite like any real fruit you've eaten? That's not just you. That's synthetic flavoring carefully blended to fool your nose. And Starbucks isn't obligated to tell you where those flavors come from. This isn't just a misunderstanding about ingredients. It's a slap in the face to millions of consumers who gave up soda for what they thought was the healthier option. The question is, how many other drinks out there use the same formula? Do you really know what's in your cup? Or are you just trusting the colors and the marketing? Next time you're at Starbucks, try asking the barista how much real fruit juice is in this refresher. The answer you get might kill your mood even on a 90-degree day. Because the real price isn't the $5 you spent on the refresher. It's the false sense of making the right choice when really you are being guided by clever wording and pretty design. If you're someone trying to eat clean, cut down on sugar, avoid chemicals, or simply know what you're spending money on, then this is the moment to look closer at what you thought was real fruit. Because in this world, not everything that smells like strawberry is actually strawberry. Number 3, vanilla lies. Next time you order a vanilla frappuccino, take a close look at the ingredient list before you take a sip. Because what you think is natural, vanilla might have nothing to do with a real vanilla bean. Starbucks offers an entire lineup of vanilla drinks, from the vanilla latte and vanilla sweet cream cold brew to the vanilla bean frappuccino. They carry an air of elegance, smoothness, and sweetness, a scent that convinces many people it must be natural. But here's the truth. Real vanilla is one of the most expensive and difficult plants in the world to grow. It requires strict climate conditions, years of careful cultivation, and hand harvesting. Which is why most products labeled vanilla today don't use real vanilla at all, but synthetic flavorings made from dozens of different chemical compounds. Starbucks is no exception. On the ingredient lists of many vanilla drinks here, you'll find words like natural flavor, vanilla flavoring, or flavored syrup. Sounds reasonable. But if you know how labeling laws work in the United States, you'll realize something important. Natural flavor does not mean real vanilla extract. It simply means a flavor that started from a natural source and was then chemically processed into something that tastes like vanilla. So the real question is, if it's not from vanilla beans, where does that flavor come from? One of the most common compounds used to create vanilla flavor is vanillin. This chemical is often synthesized from lignin, a substance found in wood pulp. That's right, from wood. It's not toxic, but there's nothing naturally delicious about it either. Other types of vanillin have been made from agricultural waste, and in the past, even from the scent glands of beavers. While that method is almost never used today, the point is the same: it isn't real vanilla. Creepy, maybe. But the key issue is that Starbucks never tells you this outright. They don't say this is synthetic vanilla. They don't say this doesn't contain real vanilla extract. They just write vanilla flavor and let your imagination do the rest. And for many people, that imagination is enough. Because the word vanilla is tied to feelings of comfort, purity, and tradition. A smell that reminds you of baked goods, warm milk, and lazy Sunday afternoons at home. Starbucks knows that. They don't need to use the real bean. All they have to do is trigger your memory with an imitation, then let you fill in the rest yourself. But here's the problem. Your body doesn't react to your memories. It reacts to what you actually consume. The sugar content in Starbucks vanilla drinks is shockingly high. A grande vanilla bean frappuccino contains up to 64 grams of sugar, nearly 16 teaspoons. Add to that artificial flavoring stabilizers and thickeners. For people trying to manage blood sugar, control blood pressure, or protect their heart, that gentle-sounding vanilla drink is really a sugar bomb wrapped in innocence. Have you ever thought of vanilla as the safest option when you didn't know what else to order? A lot of people do. It has little caffeine, it sounds mild, it isn't acidic. But that's exactly why it's dangerous. Because it feels harmless, you let your guard down. Have you ever asked a Starbucks barista where the vanilla in your drink actually comes from? Ever looked at the syrup bottle they pump into your cup and tried to read the ingredients? It's tough. Because those details aren't on the menu. They aren't in the glossy ads. They aren't in the slogan for the love of coffee. They're behind the counter, on unlabeled bottles. On ingredient sheets you'd have to request specifically to see. And in the silence of customers who once believed vanilla was the last pure flavor left in a world of chemical-filled coffee. Now you know maybe it never was. Number 4, the chemical cocktail. Starbucks has always known how to make things look beautiful and easy to drink. But looking beautiful doesn't mean healthy. And being easy to drink doesn't mean it's something you should be drinking. Most of Starbucks' popular drinks today are built on the same formula: sweet liquid, silky foam, bright colors, and a pleasant aroma. But behind that experience is a carefully engineered chemical mix designed not just to add flavor, but to trick your senses. A lot of people say, I only drink coffee, what's there to worry about? The problem is most consumers aren't drinking coffee in its pure form anymore. They're drinking something labeled as coffee that contains plenty of ingredients no local roaster would ever recognize. A single frappuccino or refresher can pack in 40 to 60 grams of sugar. But sugar is only the surface layer. Underneath are flavor enhancers, stabilizers, thickeners, preservatives, and acidity regulators including citric acid, natural flavor, potassium sorbate, gum arabic, xanthan gum, sodium benzoate. If you've ever read the labels on bottled drinks at the grocery store, these names aren't new. But when they show up in something you thought was fresh or natural, it becomes a different story. Take sodium benzoate. It's a preservative often used in sodas. But when combined with acid and light, it can form benzene, a compound once flagged as a possible carcinogen if consumed over time. Or caramel coloring found in cold brew and darker drinks. This additive has been investigated because it can contain 4-MeI, a chemical linked to cancer risks in animal studies. Consumers don't get sick from one cup of chemicals. The concern is drinking them every day, sometimes multiple times a day for years. That's when the cumulative effect becomes troubling. Older adults, people with high blood pressure, heart conditions, or diabetes are hit hardest. Their bodies can't process the constant stream of sugar, preservatives, and artificial flavors as easily. But because the drinks look light, soft, and not too heavy, they don't raise alarms. A refresher marketed as a light fruit drink is really just water, acid, artificial flavor, and syrup. Not very different from soda, but dressed up as a healthy choice. A frappuccino, which looks like coffee blended with milk, actually contains foaming agents, cold stabilizers, and sugar levels closer to an industrial dessert. The real concern isn't just the recipe. It's the way the brand normalizes these drinks in everyday life. Start the morning with a cold brew. Take a refresher at lunch. End the afternoon with a frappuccino. It feels like variety. But in reality, it's steady, repeated exposure to chemicals. Sure, your body may be able to handle it, but that doesn't mean you should keep going. Nobody is stopping Starbucks from using additives. The problem is how they market it. They use words like natural energy, light, and refreshing, a gentle inspiration from nature. Yet most of these recipes are built from ingredients you'd never put into your morning coffee at home. Would you ever add a spoonful of natural flavor, a dash of xanthan gum, and a drop of potassium sorbate to your cup? If not, then why accept it just because it comes in a cup with a logo? This doesn't mean you have to cut Starbucks out completely. But at the very least know this, you're drinking a designed product, not a natural one, and your body deserves to know the difference. Number 5, pumpkin without pumpkin. Every fall, Starbucks turns into something familiar. That green logo in people's hands, steam rising from paper cups, and a fragrance drifting through supermarkets, malls, and airports. That's the smell of the pumpkin spice latte, the iconic drink, playfully called the flavor of fall, tied to the memories of millions of Americans. Early October leaves, falling jackets coming out of closets, and the PSL in hand, as if it were part of a seasonal ritual. But then one day, people found out there was no pumpkin in the pumpkin spice latte. That was true for years until it was exposed. No pumpkin puree, no extract from the flesh of the fruit, nothing related to pumpkin at all, aside from the name and the artificially tinted orange color. What gave PSL its signature taste was a mix of sugar syrup, synthetic flavorings, and a food dye known as caramel coloring. Some forms of caramel coloring were once flagged for containing 4-MEI, a compound linked to cancer risks when consumed in high amounts over long periods. Starbucks responded. In 2015, after mounting pressure from consumers and the media, they added a small amount of real pumpkin to the new formula. But the real part was tiny, while the rest of the recipe remained virtually the same, which means the so-called pumpkin in PSL is more of a memory trigger than an actual ingredient. The cozy feeling many get when drinking PSL comes from familiar notes: cinnamon, nutmeg, vanilla, creamy milk foam. But it's that comfort that keeps people from asking questions. People love Starbucks because it's tied to memories, but those memories are being engineered through chemistry and flavor design. That's not a crime, but it is a clever game with consumer trust. You remember a past autumn, a drink that once made you feel good, and assume today's cup brings the same. But today's cup is born on a production line, from industrial ingredient vats, and from a recipe designed to mimic your memory as closely as possible. Is it wrong if you still think it tastes good? Not at all. The problem is you believe you're drinking something real. Some older customers have shared that they drink PSL every year as a seasonal tradition. But after learning about caramel coloring about the years without pumpkin, and about the 50+ grams of sugar in every serving, they felt betrayed. Not because PSL is dangerous, but because Starbucks wasn't honest. They didn't say outright that their most famous drink had none of the ingredient on the label. They didn't make clear that what consumers thought was warmth from nature was actually a lab-crafted recipe. This story points to something bigger. We no longer drink for the ingredients. We drink for the recycled memory. Pumpkin spice latte is the clearest proof of how a brand can leverage emotion to keep profits flowing without necessarily keeping quality real. And the sad truth is many people know this, yet they keep buying. Because nostalgia is stronger than honesty. You don't need to give up Starbucks completely. But at the very least, you should know exactly what's in your hands. You don't need to boycott Starbucks. Nobody's telling you to throw away a habit you've kept for years. But if you've made it this far, you've probably realized there's a lot in that cup of coffee you've never been told. The real question now isn't, does it taste good? It's how real is it? And are you willing to keep paying for a feeling built from syrup flavorings and packaged memories?
This video does not promote division within the United States or encourage segregation. All content is presented for the purpose of exploration, analysis, and fostering discussion based on current events, public sentiment, and social trends. We fully respect the United States Constitution and all federal regulations. If today's analysis made you think, drop a comment so we can keep the conversations going. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you will never miss our next independent deep dive.